What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel Hand Waving. Your friend Naruto Addict 2.0 is here again with a brand new Naruto fanfic that's going to change everything. Today's fanfic is titled, What If Naruto Became the Broken Prince Loved by Hinata, Anko, Tayuya and Yugito? Part 2. Let's start this fanfic. All her muscles suddenly tensed and all she saw was white as she came hard on Naruto's fingers. As she fell down from her heaven, her body completely collapsed against Naruto as she felt limp. Her world was slowly coming back together as she felt Naruto slowly removing his fingers from her. I love you so much, Naruto-kun. Even before this, you just had this strength that others just did not have, and it wasn't just your physical strength but your indomitable will that made me fall for you. She finished as she tried to pull herself together enough to look into his softening blue eyes. Satsuki-chan I, before he was forced to say something, I's loud voice was coming down the halls. Satsuki-chan, where are you? Arashi-kun is taking us out for ramen. Shit. I can't see Satsuki-chan like this, especially with me here. Satsuki understood Naruto's sudden panic but felt too weak since this was first real experience and it felt as if she just performed 5A rank jutsu in a row. Naruto-kun, just leave me here, I will deal with her. See you tomorrow. She finished with a sad smile as Naruto could not hold back his worry leaving her so soon. His guilt was building, so he did what he could. He quickly redressed her and sat her down in a seat, making sure she looked as if she was sitting there the whole time. He propped her arm under her chin and opened his notebook to a random page to make it look as if she was studying. Thanks, Naruto-kun, now go before Loudmouth finds you. He looked at her for a few more seconds before he silently shunshined back to the armory. Oh, there you are. Why are still studying, and is that Naruto's notebook? She slowly got up and stretched to get the blood flowing to her limbs and told her that he left it here and so she was going to see what was inside for extra studying. I quickly agreed since the longer they were talking the longer she would be apart from her ramen. Yeah, I plan to do some extra studying with this notebook. She followed I and could not keep her torrent of emotions from running through heart, but thought that no matter what she was madly in love with Naruto and that was all that mattered, even if she had her doubts about why he did not respond to her heartfelt confession. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Naruto was on a rampage in the training room of his armory as all the water in the room was moving around violently and crushing whatever Naruto's raging eyes were on. Senju. I mean, goddamn it, she was so gone. Naruto stopped as he cried a river of tears at the thought of how wrapped around his finger she was. He stopped his train of thought and lay down on the floor looking up at the ceiling as he thought on Satsuki and what just happened. What am I really angry about? Was it the fact that she did not do anything for me? Was it the fact that we were interrupted? Or was it the fact about me unable to tell her I love her? I can't get caught up with her. I need my revenge, and that includes killing I eventually, her best friend, sister. I can't have it both ways. However, Naruto's mind ran through that moment about what just happened. This way she felt so soft in her arms, her why whimpers egging him on to do whatever he wanted to her, the way she was desperately trying to finish but him controlling her to go at his pace. Exclamation mark. I need to work this stress off. Naruto left the training room to do some stress relief and then prepare for tomorrow's exam. He knew deep down that he was wrapped around Satsuki's finger just as she was around his, but he would have to try either to keep it a secret or ignore it for as long as he could until it burst. He slowly walked toward the academy looking around at the changing leaves on the trees around his armory. The leaves look great but they just aren't the same anymore and eventually will lose their hold on the tree and be lost into the wind. Naruto inhaled the cooling autumn wind and sped toward the academy to finally become an official ninja. And one step closer to destroying them. When he finally entered the room he threw his hand up to catch the incoming projectile, his notebook. Don't look so lost, Dobi. You left your notes here yesterday. I guess you were just too worried about trying to beat me and I-chan that I bet you even forgot to bring your kunai pouch. I giggled at her friend's joke. Meanwhile, Arashi was cracking up at seeing his friend being humiliated as it was such a rare moment. Naruto refused to say anything like he usually did, but he slowly walked toward Satsuki while maintaining fierce eye contact that was bringing her flashbacks of yesterday. Damn it, what is he doing? Why is my heart racing already? He is just looking at me. After the intense private session, she could not get away from Ai and Arashi fast enough to continue where they left off with his notebook. Naruto seeming knew this as he slowly got in front of her face and passed by her face and whispered into her ear, making sure nobody could hear him other than Satsuki. You didn't happen to drop my notebook into a lake by accident, did you? 'Cause I think it's still wet from whatever you could have done to it. Satsuki brought her head to the desk, trying desperately to hide her blush as deep as she could into the wood. He lightly chuckled seeing her reaction and continued on to his seat and prepared to take the exam. The rest of the class could only speculate what he told her to make her react that way, but their musings were cut short as Iruka walked into the classroom. Alright everyone, I just want to wish everyone good luck and I will start explaining the rules of the exam, beginning with, Naruto could care less and just wanted to get this over with. The day came and went, as it ended with the final ninjutsu section. Naruto walked into the final exam room and Iruka threw a kunai that phased right through him, revealing him to be a clone. The real Naruto was standing on an X on the floor and waited for the trio of kunai flying at him and substituted with the provided log in the room. Iruka looked up from his huge stack of paperwork to see an angry fourth Hokage. Man, Naruto is good at hanging. Alright, get out of here. I already know that if I ask you to do the 2 required personal jutsu, you will ruin the room for the rest of the students. Naruto picked up the black banded head protector and walked out while Iruka had some parting words. You know, when you first arrived to the class, one thought you were going to be a horrible student just based on your reputation coming in. Just to let you know, I am happy that I had you as a student and I hope you go far as a ninja. Naruto did not turn around to look at Iruka but paused to listen and continued on his way when he was finished talking to him. Iruka was yet another person that happened to worm his way into Naruto's heart as he saw him for him, not the demon child. The academy was amazing for him, where he felt as if he could do anything he wanted and was not judged like in the village. But that was then and this is now. He went back to his armory to eat, train, and sleep to prepare to meet his new sensei. Finally he was a genin at last. Now it was time to shake the ninja world. Hatred ignored but not forgotten. Minato Senju was in his full Hokage robes as he peered into the third's glass orb using the telescope technique to overlook the now genin students as they finished their exam. He was sitting in a small room surrounded by a few jonin that wished to become jonin sensei for a group of genin. Well, that's that we now have all the clan heirs becoming genin at the same time. So let us set up the teams, shall we? Hokage-sama, if I may, I wish to train the next generation of the legendary Ino Shika Chokombo, Asuma said first to get his preference before anyone else. Minato nodded, seeing that no one else really cared. All right, we still have quite a few. Kakashi quickly put in his vote for Ai, Satsuki, and Arashi. Hokage-sama, you can't seriously give him all of them. It would benefit all groups if they were separated. Kurenai quickly exclaimed, which surprised everyone seeing how vocal she was being. Kurenai, I am sorry, but Kakashi is the best to train them to their highest potential, seeing as how they are all gifted in the art of ninjutsu, whereas your specialties lie in genjutsu. Kurenai bit her lower lip and took a step back because she knew that Minato was right and she was out of line. Well, since that is settled, then you, Kurenai, will train Shino Aburame, Kiba Inuzuka, and Hinata Hyuga. She nodded as she did not mind, as she wished to train Hinata originally, seeing as the only thing holding her back was her insecurities. Minato then took a deep breath as he thought on how to address the odd student out. Now, does any want to take Naruto Uzumaki as an apprentice? He knew he was asking a loaded question, seeing as no one really wanted to be associated as the teacher to Naruto, as even as the years passed it was more or less career suicide, as Naruto expressed a dark personality and was seen as powerful, which could lead him to lash out at his superiors in rank. Seriously, no one. You guys are too much, man. I'll take the gaki then, Anko said as she slammed her hand on Minato's desk, getting everyone's attention. Anko, what have I told you about messing around with my desk? His eye twitched as he thought about the last time he found Anko on his desk. After Orochimaru's betrayal, Anko spent more time around Kushina as she saw herself in Anko. So Kushina decided to teach her own squad of Yugao, Anko, and Kurenai as she gave them their own specialties, Kenjutsu for Yugao, Genjutsu for Kurenai, and Ninjutsu for Anko. They bonded well, but as Yugao went on her way to Anbu, Kurenai and Anko decided to eventually train their own apprentice. Though Yugao and Kurenai were close with Kushina, they did not embrace her silly personality as much as Anko. Anko tended to take it to the extreme, as the most recent prank with Kushina involved Anko waiting in Minato's office until he came back with Kushina, and as they were entering and making out, she made herself known while making a pose on his desk without her coat on. Kushina acted as if nothing was wrong and proceeded to ask if he was down for a threesome, and he passed out on the spot as his mind tried to process having his wife and her hot apprentice at the same time. However, he woke up later that day not to his loving wife and her apprentice, but in the middle of a male gay bar, shirtless with "single and ready to mingle" written on his chest with a permanent marker. He ran out as fast as he could and was too embarrassed to remember the Hiraishin. That day lived in infamy for Minato, as he suddenly withdrew under his Hokage hat as if to mentally war against that particular memory. Apparently, Kushina was tired of his late hours and wanted him to know that if she was not getting any, she would get the itch to prank him again, even worse. What did you say?" Minato asked, confused, as everyone in the room was silenced by what Anko had just said. Anko sighed and repeated that she wanted to train Naruto because she could see the great potential he had and he just needed someone to draw him out of his shell. "Well, okay then, you're dismissed. You will meet them tomorrow at 10, and Kakashi, if you show up late to my daughter's first day, I will have you running solo D-ranked missions for a month." Kakashi shuddered at the thought and quickly left the room along with the rest of the Jonin in the room. Minato peered back into the looking glass once everyone had left. "Naruto, who are you?" Iruka stood in front of the classroom and delivered his final speech to the class before he told them team assignments. "As of today, you are all ninjas. To get here, you faced difficult trials and hardships, but that was nothing. What comes next will be far more difficult. Now you are only genin, first-level ninjas. All the genin will be grouped into 3-man squads. Each squad will be led by a jonin, an elite ninja." Naruto looked up from his desk to find Ai talking to Satsuki excitably on them being on a team, while Arashi was crying mock tears as to why they were leaving him out of their team. "Ai-chan, you're breaking my heart. I thought you would want us to be together." Ai stopped talking and smiled at Arashi. "Of course I do. I would want to be on a team with both of my best friends." Arashi's smile only slightly faltered to where I did not notice it, but Naruto did. Yeah, he knew about his friend's crush on Ai ever since after that first day, as they bonded after sparring as they were almost evenly matched. Naruto hated seeing him like that. He did not see what Arashi saw in her, but he just let Arashi talk since they seemed to be the only people who would listen to each other. Arashi may be a loudmouth, but he did not make close friends with the rest of their classmates. He and Naruto understood each other through their fists, as Naruto could feel that deep inside Arashi was this lack of identity, but he never told Naruto why he felt that way. Arashi at the same time could feel the overwhelming sadness hidden within Naruto, and he wanted to know why, but as connected as they were to each other, they simply were not close enough. "Che, that bitch." Naruto looked away from that group and stared at Iruka to listen to the rest of the lecture, but slightly faltered at the large amount of killing intent hitting him like a heat wave. Satsuki was pissed, so pissed, in fact, that she almost turned on her two-tomoed Sharingan just to glare holes into Naruto's skull. "How dare he not even talk to me about what happened for 3 whole days?" Naruto Uzumaki almost felt like whimpering from his seat as he could feel Satsuki ready to pounce on him like a tiger to rip his face off. "Kami, please see me through to the afterlife. I don't know what to say to her. How can she blame me? I don't even know what to do." Iruka indirectly saved him by continuing his speech. "We want each squad to have a balance of strength and abilities, so that's how we set them up. I will now announce the squads." Iruka ran through the list as Naruto only caught the last few. Team 7 will be Arashi Sarutobi, Ai Senju, and Satsuki Uchiha under Kakashi Hatake. Arashi and I were cheering from their seats, whereas Satsuki had a small smile on her face knowing her team was the best possible team, well, second best team. Team 8 will be Shino Aburame, Kiba Inuzuka, and Hinata Hyuga. Team 9 is already a set team, therefore Team 10 will be Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, and Choji Akamichi. Now go forth and defend the village with your wills of fire. Naruto slowly pulled his head up from his desk to level a stare that could freeze hell over right at Iruka. Why do I not have a team? I did not spend 7 years here not to be a ninja. Naruto was about to get up and be violent when Arashi stood up. Hey, Iruka-sensei, what about Naruto? He should be on a team. Naruto looked over at Arashi with a strange look. No one's ever defended me, not that I needed, but Arashi. Arashi gave his own glare to Iruka, thinking that he not putting Naruto on a team was bullshit. Iruka looked sheepish as he looked over the sheets in his hand to find any notes on Naruto until he found a small sticky note on the last sheet. Oh, that is my fault. Naruto Uzumaki will be trained under Anko Mitarashi. Naruto had never heard of her but just hoped she was not going to try and stunt his growth. He did not have to wait long as a female figure broke through the room as a large drape covered the section where Iruka was standing and had on it, the great Anko Mitarashi, the most kick sensei around. Alright, which one of you brats is named Naruto Uzumaki? I'm going to be your sensei. Are you ready for the real genin test? Good. Now follow me. Anko finished with her fist in the air as if she was cheering herself on. Anko, Iruka meekly looked around the drape and told her that she was early. Tisk. Tisk. Iruka-kun, what have I told you before? It's not early, just being too soon. And it's Anko-sama to you, or do you not remember our lessons? Iruka suddenly blushed while Anko had a vicious smirk. Naruto could not fight off the growing disgusted expression on his face as his sensei was being whipped in front of the whole class and he did not even fight back or deny it. Wow, Iruka-sensei lost a lot of points. I know I'll never bend to a woman's will. Che, what a joke. As Naruto finished that thought, he could not ignore the sudden chill down his spine, while Satsuki could not help but enjoy the scene unfolding in front of her and silently took notes along with the rest of the girls in the class. What worried all the males was the loud clicking sound of a pen amplified tenfolded as all the girls pulled out a notebook and started writing on their own small notebook. Naruto started to ask if they could go when he was shushed midway of asking a nearby girl who was still writing notes while pushing up her glasses and taking a sip of her pumpkin spice latte. Honestly, I cannot go anywhere on campus without finding a girl with fake glasses and a pumpkin spice latte, like WTF. The sound of scribbling ended, and after the sound of a multitude of pens clicking closed did Naruto begin to ask again if they could go. Anko just yelled out to follow her and sprinted out the window to land onto a nearby building with Naruto following right behind her. They stopped right on front of the Forest of Death and Anko began to speak. Okay, let's get the air cleared here. Obviously you can guess nobody wanted to train you, but do not think for 1 second that I'm some chump jonin that got stuck with you. I asked for you specifically not because you were the number 1 student or because of your potential, but because I can easily see how angry you are. Naruto could only ball his fist as his sensei said what he was thinking, but got angry at her because it was if she was saying she understood him. You cannot possibly understand my pain. Naruto's glare came out at full force as Anko understood why he was glaring. She sighed and berated herself for being so blunt because it was not helping. I don't need you. I became this strong on my own and I will become even greater. So I'm going to train with the only person good enough to train me, myself. Naruto turned around and walked away when Anko suddenly attacked him, but it turned out to be a shadow clone. Anko felt a kunai to her throat and only chuckled. She grinded her on Naruto and he could not help but weaken his grip on her. She took that opportunity to move the kunai away and lay a smack down on Naruto, whose taijutsu was useless against the infamous hubby style, as Anko could be moving in a straight line while at the same time altering her centerline, preventing Naruto from getting into a rhythm. Damn, first Arashi and now her. My taijutsu is useless if my strongest opponents know how to beat it. Time to show her my true strength. The water dragon. Naruto backed off and charged the air around him to form water and held up the bird hand sign, slowly pushing his connected hands out, aimed right at Anko. This is the difference between us. Water style. Water dragon jutsu. Anko's eyes widened at the incredible sight of water from the air shaped into the form of a dragon, while Naruto simply used one hand sign. But that's impossible. That's an A-rank jutsu and requires over 40 hand signs. She could not think any further as the elemental dragon roared out and barreled toward her. Naruto walked toward the defeated and soaked form of Anko Mitarashi lying helplessly on the ground of the training ground. This is the difference between us. You could not possibly teach me anything other than how to be a. Naruto could not finish her monologue as he was suddenly dragged underground violently with only his head revealed. The Anko he was insulting poofed away, revealing it to be a shadow clone, while the real Anko right above him was completely dry with an extremely wide sadistic smile. However, that smile was not what worried him. It was the group of snakes hissing out ready to pierce his throat with their long fangs dripping in poison. Now what was that, Naruto-kun? Something about me just being a. Anko's face grew suddenly dark and came extremely close to his face. Say it. Say it again and I will have the smallest snake you can be squeezed in to eat you alive as you slowly are dissolved by its stomach acids. Naruto quickly shut up and shook his head no, which was as close as Naruto would get to begging for his life. Good. Now I don't like you, but you are talented with ninjutsu. That's it. You would die out in the real world like the academy student you are. You have no taijutsu, no genjutsu, no self-restraint, and worst of all, you have a massive ego. We have a lot of work to do. Now get yourself out and we will start. You have a minute to get out or I send you back to the academy. I will be in the forest. Ya nay. She finished with a fake smile while she leapt away. Naruto smashed his head against the ground multiple times in penance of his foolishness. He concentrated hard and altered his form into water, briefly letting him escape easily. Damn, I am a fool. If I keep this talk up I won't live to get my revenge. Naruto leapt after Anko to begin his training as a genin. The sounds of timber cracking filled the air in a nearby training ground as Naruto was working on his physical conditioning through repeatedly hitting a training log. He seemed to come here a lot as it was isolated, and by the obvious dents in the wood it indicated his thousands of repetitions. It was another hot day in the fire country, so he took off his usual black long-sleeve shirt with fur collar. I mean, that thing is so hard to keep clean. Thankfully I can force all the sweat out of clothes but not the smell. It had been a couple hours after his humiliating defeat, so he needed something to let his rage out on, and as the sun began to set he was still angry at both his lack of his development but also the ego he held onto, thinking that he was ready to take on the world just cause he was the best at the academy. He delivered a powerful punch into the wood to find that his hand was bleeding. He sighed and rested his head against the training log and could not calm down his heart. Damn it. Damn it. I couldn't beat a Jonin. I can barely beat Arashi. How can I even think of beating him? A flash of Minato with a giant Rasengan inches away from his face as he was willing to kill himself in that moment flooded Naruto's mind. Damn it. Damn it. Naruto held his head against the wood as he cried silently while he smashed his fists into the wood, ignoring the pain and blood as the pain of weakness was far greater. I will never be strong enough with my bloodline alone. What am lacking? Hatred. Naruto could not bring himself to argue with his darker thoughts as he continued to punch the training log. He was slowly putting more power behind the punches and felt the anger he had at the Senju providing extra strength to his punches. He was slowly grinning like a madman as he ignored the pain and accepted the numbness of hatred. Where there is hatred there cannot be anything else in your heart, even pain. I just need to embrace this power, there is no reason for me not. Naruto-kun, please stop. Just stop. Naruto could hear Satsuki's plea as he slowed down his punches. As he slowed down he began to feel the world around him come back into view. He could see his ruined hands, the thin arms around his stomach as if they were trying to pull him away, and most of all he could feel Satsuki's tears on his back. Satsuki-chan, Naruto slowly pulled her arms away and turned to the tear-filled face of Satsuki Uchiha. It shoved a nail in his heart seeing her like that, so he removed his bloody bandages and wrapped her up in a hug. Hey, it's okay. I'm sorry, I just was lost. Satsuki sniffled her into Naruto's chest as she spoke. I was so angry at you from ignoring me, so I looked all over for you to yell at you. But when I saw you hitting the training log, I almost attacked you on the spot until I noticed you were crying. Then you, Satsuki dove deeper into Naruto's chest as she felt scared. You just kept punching and punching, letting your hands break, and you just smiled, Naruto-kun. Naruto held her tighter as he cursed himself for showing Satsuki his rage and hatred getting the best of him. The thought of losing Satsuki from his hatred scared him the most. He never opened his heart to anyone. What started in the school room was just a couple horny teenagers, but by the end he felt something more. Nothing was added to me, I was connected with her at that moment. That's why her pain hurts me as well. I don't know what to do except try not let her get hurt. I need to end this here, she can't join me on this path that I have before me. Naruto loosened his grip on Satsuki as he took in a deep breath to do something he would regret in order to do what he needed to. Satsuki-san, I don't think. Naruto stopped as Satsuki's head came up so quick and her now 3-tomoed Sharingan told him he would die painfully if he finished that sentence. You will not break up with me over this shit. Satsuki nailed him right in the stomach and followed with a thunderous back kick to his face. Naruto could feel his nose bleeding and the sharp pain in his back as he hit the log really hard. Before he could get up, Satsuki straddled his waist and bit his shoulder hard enough to draw blood. Satsuki stopped and looked up with tears in her warm coal eyes. Please don't leave me, she whimpered out. She looked away in shame. I know that I am not the most feminine or the best looking and I'm pushy and... She could not get any more words out as Naruto gently pulled her chin towards him and kissed her gently. Satsuki's eyes widened before she closed her eyes and melted into the kiss. After a while Naruto tried to get his tongue into her and Satsuki would not let him, so he pinched her and she squeaked, which allowed Naruto to enter, but only for a moment as Satsuki immediately pulled away. Naruto, what are trying to do? Satsuki was beginning to doubt that he cared for her and was only trying to use her. Do you even care about me? Naruto just looked at Satsuki, just lost as he did not know what to say. I am just doing what I instinctively feel. How am I supposed to handle this? Satsuki-chan, I don't know how to treat you like the Heim you are to me. I don't know how to outside of using my body to express this to you. Satsuki was bright red as she heard Naruto's compliment and especially the thing about using his body to treat her like a princess. She shuddered as she imagined Naruto doing her every whim. That's my problem as well. Sigh. I don't really know how to be romanced, but we are moving too fast and... Satsuki looked at Naruto's confused blue eyes as he truly was simply a teenager that was trying to be the right man but did not know how. It's so sweet that he thinks of me that way and he really wants this to work out. Damn, why can't I think about how normal frilly girls do this? Satsuki made a cute pouting face as Naruto tried so hard not to take her right then and there when he stopped himself. This is a lot of work, I mean why can't I just... Naruto began to grind himself under her trying to please both of them at the same time when Satsuki instantly wrapped a hand around his throat, suddenly choking him, forcing him to stop really quickly. Satsuki turned her fully matured Sharingan on and came close to his face, but Naruto was doubting it was for another gentle kiss. You said I was a princess, well then you are going to treat me like one. She tightened her grip around his throat as she continued. I like sushi, so you will take me out later tonight and show me how much you want me without this. She grinded her butt on Naruto, teasing him, but Naruto could not enjoy it as Satsuki refused to let go of his throat. 8 tonight, don't be late. She got off and noticed that Naruto had a bulge in his pants, so she decided to be extra cruel. She slowly turned around and walked away from Naruto while she made wide hip movements, drawing him into her swaying movements before she disappeared via shunshin. Satsuki's shunshin blew the bloody bandages from Naruto's moment away into a nearby bush. Now sitting in the training ground was a sweaty, shirtless, and aroused Naruto, who was speechless at what just happened. That went so differently than I thought it would go. Hell, she has a hell of a grip. Naruto was rubbing his neck trying to remove the phantom pains in his neck. After a while he realized what was going on as he noticed what just happened. I just got whipped. Hell, she just demands shit and leaves me still hard like what the. Naruto just sighed and went over to pick up his shirt that was lying on the side of the training ground. As Naruto slid his shirt on, he could not help but smirk. Damn, I don't know how she does it. She can be so ruthless one moment and a tease the next. She is driving me crazy. I don't know if she is an angel or a demon in disguise. Naruto looked up at the sun to see he had a couple hours to get ready and find a sushi place for them. Oh shit. Naruto quickly ran away from the training ground and headed towards the armory to get ready. In his wake were the bloody bandages that tumbled out of the bushes, only to be stopped by the ruined training log that almost looked like a shrine as the sunset let darkness fall upon them. Those bandages would not be moving on as that log would hold onto them for the whole night. My friend. Satsuki arrived in her room via Shushin and was trying to calm her rapidly beating heart as her thoughts went back to that kiss. I had no idea I had that in me. What was I thinking, choking him like that? But that was so hot. Satsuki was lost in her own world when she heard Makoto coming into her room. Satsuki-chan, it's almost time for dinner. Or even listening to me. She looked at her mother and then flopped onto her bed trying to shake the mental image of what just happened. Until she remembered what her mother just said. Ka-san, what did you just say? Makoto just reminded her of how they were going to celebrate her success as a genin today with a large dinner. Dinner. Oh crap. Satsuki flew off her bed and ran straight into her closet, turning her Sharingan on as she threw clothes out like a boat engine, spewing out water, causing Makoto to drown in all her daughter's clothes. Oh, where are you? Satsuki was searching her closet for something specific as Makoto was lost as to why she would be acting like this for a family gathering. Satsuki-chan, what are you looking for and why are you doing this? Satsuki slowly pulled herself out of the closet with some tears threatening to fall. Ka-san, I just want to go on this stupid date with Naruto-kun, but I don't know where the dress I-chan and I picked out. Makoto could only smile at her daughter as she was reminded that even though she was a kunoichi, she was still an inexperienced teenager. Oh Satsuki-chan, Makoto began to cry fake tears. Oh, you already going to leave your poor Ka-san, Tour-san, and Ni-san for a boy? My heart just can't take it. Satsuki could only sigh in anguish as her mom was not helping her at all. Makoto stopped after a while and told her that she knew where her dress was, so she left and got it for her. Satsuki ran to get another shower to clean up and be ready for Naruto, but could not help but fear how the date could go. How much trouble could this be? How can this be so hard? Naruto was pacing around the armory trying to think of what to wear, how to act, where to go to eat, what not to do. Basically, Naruto had no idea how to handle this. I don't know, just tisk. Shit, well, I am just going to treat her like a princess. What was I thinking? I don't even know how to treat a girl in general, and here I am struggling to even get my shit together. Naruto tried to think of anyone who could help him until a happy brown-haired boy jumped into his head. Arashi. Well, at least he should know something, right? Naruto left the armory and dashed to the Sarutobi district. He arrived shortly to a humble ranch house surrounded by a grove of trees where a few monkeys were swinging about having fun. Naruto reached the door and knocked tentatively. When no response came, he turned around and began to berate himself for coming out here. The door opened to Arashi wearing pajamas, and around his mouth were loose pieces rice that were stuck there thanks to the rice ball in his right hand. Naruto. What are you doing here, man? Arashi was extremely surprised to see Naruto here, as all the times they spared over the years there was only one time he was at his house when Naruto basically had to deliver him here as he was too exhausted to walk from his killer jutsu. Naruto gave a deadpan expression and then pointed to his mouth. Arashi looked confused for a second until he quickly wiped his mouth clean. Naruto started talking about how he was going out on a date, but before he could say with whom, Arashi had already wrapped his arm around Naruto's shoulder and talked his ear off about how he came to the right man. Naruto, my friend, don't worry about it, I will make sure you sweep this blind girl off her feet. She is not blind, Arashi. Arashi looked shocked. You mean she saw your ugly face and still wanted to go out on a date with you? Incredible. I would never. Arashi was now eating the floor as Naruto delivered a swift blow to his ex-classmate. He sighed and reiterated how he had very little time before he had to go. Arashi got up and told him he was going to teach him all he knew since he was a pro. Is I still not your girlfriend yet? Arashi slumped and just dragged a chuckling Naruto through the estate, mumbling how it was so hard to get her attention and other nonsense. Naruto was nervous as he approached the Uchiha clan estate and was mentally running through all the tips Arashi gave him. Naruto looked down at himself to make sure he was clean and checked the bouquet of flowers in his hands. Okay, her house is the biggest one on the right. Oh, here it is. Okay, don't this up, Naruto. Naruto approached the door before he felt a sudden influx of chakra enter his own and sighed, letting the genjutsu begin, thinking it was some Uchiha test. That bastard is late. When I get my hands on him. Satsuki was getting angrier as time went by past 8 until she felt multiple bursts of chakra outside her house. What she found made her laugh. Naruto was standing in the middle of the street knocking on an imaginary door and bowing to no one while talking to the air. Ah, Fugaku-sama, you look so good. I mean, your daughter looks hot. Wait, Naruto felt a gentle hand on his shoulder as he was broken from the genjutsu. Satsuki was giggling at his suddenly confused face. What, never been in a genjutsu before? Naruto shook his head and was saying he was looking for Satsuki Uchiha, not for such a beautiful raven-haired princess. Satsuki blushed but hit him on the head for being such an idiot. Damn, she still hits hard. Thanks for the tips, Arashi. That was sarcasm if you could not tell. Naruto gave her the flowers and Satsuki smiled, saying that it was thoughtful of him. She quickly put them inside and rushed them out of the Uchiha district, only to see a fully armored out Itachi cleaning his tanto slowly. Satsuki broke away from Naruto, who was just staring at Itachi with his ice blue eyes glaring into emotionally empty coal eyes. Ni-san. Come on, stop trying to scare Naruto, and I know you were the one that put him under that genjutsu. She pouted at her older brother as his staring contest was broken with Satsuki's yell. Itachi just smiled and waved his hands as if he did not do anything. He then poked her in the head and told her to stay safe. As he walked by Naruto, he had something completely different to tell him. If you ever lay a hand on my little sister, I will not hesitate to end your life. Itachi whispered into Naruto's ear while making sure to show the slowly spinning Sharingan death stare. Naruto leaned right back and told him his own piece. Do not confuse my kindness with your sister as weakness. Naruto had formed multiple water Senbon out of the air behind Itachi's neck within only moments of his statement without a single hand sign. He smirked and leaned away from the kunai pointed at his kidney. Besides, I already had my hand deep inside her already and she did not seem to mind at all. Naruto swept Satsuki off her feet and shunshined away faster than Itachi's explosive clone could kill him. Itachi came out of a nearby alley to pursue when he felt his mother's glare. Itachi-kun, if you follow them I will burn all your Pocky and even those you hide in your not-so-secret stash. Itachi quickly leapt back into the house, fearful of losing his month's supply of delicious Pocky. The couple reappeared in front of Ninja Roll's sushi house and Naruto put her down while heading towards the door. As he was about to enter when he remembered something. Now when you get to the restaurant, make sure you open the door for her, not yourself. Be considerate, not like you know what that means, Utem. Naruto opened the door, letting her walk in front, letting his eyes follow her in that black dress she wore as she walked inside. Damn, I should act like a gentleman more often. They were served and eating when Naruto realized that they have not talked to each other the entire time. Arashi said to make casual conversation, but honestly that is not like me. Whatever. Satsuki isn't like any other girl I know, so I will talk about what we both know. He pushed a couple rolls out of the way and tried to bring up a conversation. He coughed, making Satsuki to look up from her sushi and thanked Kami that this silence was being broken. So you recently got your third tome for your Sharingan. Naruto felt stupid as he brought up an obvious point. Oh, I had no idea. I will make sure to train more then. Naruto took a couple more rolls in his mouth before he stumbled upon a good talking point. So how is it being on a team with Arashi, I and that new sensei? That got her going as she talked all about the bell test and Arashi trying to impress I by getting a bell for himself and her, but how in the end they failed to get a bell when Kakashi used his Sharingan. It was like he was going as hard as he need to, because I noticed how he would go slower for Arashi and me, but he would try much harder when I-chan went at him, so I brought us together to bring him down only to wipe the floor with us. Crazy thing was Arashi just kept going up even after the alarm went off, which got him tied to a training log. She continued her story about how they shared their food and passed the test. She then asked about his sensei and he only told her about how crazy she was and how he thought she had a snake fetish. Satsuki giggled at that while Naruto cracked a small smile hearing her cute giggle and seeing her so happy. I would do anything to keep that happy look on her face. Eventually the night ended and they left the sushi house. As they were walking back to the Uchiha district, Naruto could hear the whispers of the villagers just like that time when he was 6. He subconsciously began to infuse the air around him to convert it into water until he saw Satsuki shiver. What's wrong, Satsuki? He asked with his previous rage at the villagers gone. Satsuki just looked up at him saying nothing, but Naruto noticed her rubbing her exposed arms trying to brush away the cold of the fall night. Here. Naruto gave her his jacket but refused to look at her as if he was ashamed of handing over his things to help her. Thanks. She replied in a quiet voice as she was not used to this kindness from Naruto where he would not benefit from it. The rest of the trip was quiet as they enjoyed the lights and people of the village at night. When they got in front of her house, Naruto felt like he should say something. Satsuki-chan, I had a good time tonight. I want to do this again. Satsuki nodded but felt a little awkward. This is where we kiss, right? I don't know, we did it once but that time was different. Naruto picked up on her hesitation and could not wait any longer to kiss her soft lips. Satsuki-chan, he dipped his head lower and led her lips toward his when bright floodlights suddenly went on to the almost kissing couple. Funny story. This actually happened to me after a school dance. I almost jumped lol. The pair broke apart as the overwhelming light ruined the mood. Satsuki. What were you going to do with him? The door opened to an angry Uchiha clan leader outfitted in his full police chief gear with Itachi behind him slowly cleaning his tanto again. Atu-san, I was Naruto, tell him. She hid behind Naruto as he was lost for words at this weird scene. We were yeah, I really don't know if any of Arashi's tips would help me here. Fugaku, I swear to Kami, if you don't turn off those damn lights and stop ruining Satsuki's first date, you won't be able to even enter the house for a week. Makoto was charging at the father and son duo with a large pan in hand ready to crack some skulls. Meanwhile, Satsuki shrunk further into Naruto's back. Well, there goes my tough kunoichi image, my family is so embarrassing. Naruto could not handle this family moment and started to walk away. I'm leaving, he said in his default emotional-less tone. As he was heading out, Satsuki could feel her heart breaking seeing him leave. She tried to call out to him, but felt the words die in her throat as she sprinted by her family with tears in her eyes, thinking that he was leaving her for good because of her family. She ran up the stairs and slammed her door closed. Fugaku felt terrible for ruining his daughter's first crush. Meanwhile, Makoto was ready to cry herself, feeling like it was all her fault and that Satsuki would never forgive her. In her room, Satsuki was wrapped under the covers and crying into her pillow when she heard someone enter her room. Leave, please. Satsuki bawled even deeper into her bed and sniffled, trying not to cry. Naruto was standing at the edge of her bed looking at the once fierce kunoichi, his rival, and now girlfriend, crying, thinking he left her permanently. Damn it. I had no idea she would act like this. I just said I was leaving. Do I really mean this much to her? Naruto bit his lower lip hard, trying to ignore the overwhelming feeling of both happiness and sadness filling his heart. I am not alone anymore. I can't just leave and disappear anymore. I matter. I am not just a thing on the shelf to be ignored. He slowly walked over to her side of the bed and squatted down only to start stroking her hair gently. Satsuki peered out of her sheets to see Naruto's caring blue eyes and gave him a small smile only to stop and go back under the covers. I thought you left me. Naruto slowly pulled back the covers and wiped away the tears streaking down her face. I would never leave you, not for anything. Plus I think you owe me a goodnight kiss. Satsuki chuckled lightly and they began to kiss. They laid on the bed, Naruto on top of Satsuki as their lips did not separate for a single moment. Satsuki's arms kept themselves wrapped around tightly his neck as Naruto settled to holding her closer at the curve of her back. The kiss went on for some time as they had completely ignored everything else that was happening and just concentrated on the feeling of each other's lips. Satsuki felt her fingers start combing through his spiky blonde hair as his hands started rubbing up and down her back. Naruto was slightly surprised as Satsuki decided to take the next leap and opened her mouth. He eagerly accepted the invitation and began to greedily take her tongue with his own. Their tongues began to dance around and they both moaned as the warmth of their bodies melded together. Naruto was lost in the feeling of her soft warm body pressing tightly into his and wished that this would not end. However, Kami was a cruel mistress as the door creaked open revealing a very placid Makoto going to try and comfort her daughter only to find someone else beating her to the punch. She could see thanks to the light of the full moon her daughter and Naruto heavily making out and moaning. She quickly squeaked and closed the door as her face flamed up. Why was Fugaku-kun never as romantic as him? After a few more moments, their mouths separated and revealed a line of saliva between them. They were panting heavily as Naruto lifted himself to look down at Satsuki's gorgeous form. Naruto's eyes hungrily traced her perfect body starting with her small slender hands, long neck, perfect shoulders, nice pair of C-cup tits, narrow waist which flared out perfectly into her firm plump finishing with her firm long legs that Naruto's eyes could not pull away from. His eyes met hers as they were both cloudy from being so lost in the moment. Naruto took a deep breath as he tried to regain himself as he did not want to go any further and lose the one thing in his life that made him feel wanted. Satsuki-chan, we should stop here. Satsuki looked disappointed and was about to argue when she heard the loud sounds of her father running up the stairs with loud clanging noises one could only assume were kitchen utensils trying to stop him. Before I leave, I almost forgot to give you something. Naruto rolled up his sleeve to reveal a small sealing array on his left shoulder. He pushed some chakra into the seal which made a small scroll to appear. He slid off her and sat on the side of the bed with Satsuki sitting right next to him. Here, I thought I would get you a gift for you know everything. She took the scroll from his hand and opened it to reveal another sealing array. Naruto looked nervous as the smoke cleared to a set of leg weights. I know it's not jewelry or something pretty, but they are really useful. I improved them by making the weight equal to the amount of chakra that is pumped into it. You don't have to worry about constantly charging them as they have their own locking mechanism that can be easily broken when you need to take them off. You just have to. Satsuki pulled Naruto into a quick kiss and told him that she loved them. This will definitely help my training. You really are thoughtful, Naruto-kun. He slightly blushed at the compliment and rubbed his head like Arashi when he got embarrassed. He stopped himself from getting flustered as he knew that he had to go. Satsuki-chan, I will see you tomorrow, okay? She nodded and thanked him again for the gift. The last thing Naruto wanted to do was leave her, but he knew any minute Fugaku and possible Itachi would storm into the room, so he left with a small smile on his face. Thank you, my Haim. Satsuki blushed and flopped onto her bed exhausted from the day she had. What a day. We have training early tomorrow, don't we? At least tonight I will sleep well. The room's door blew off the hinges as Fugaku and Itachi were in their Sharingan blazing only to find Satsuki soundly sleeping, too tired to deal with her family right now. Naruto slowly walked down the street noticing how the businesses were shutting down around him. It's not that late, is it? He continued walking pretending not to notice the small three-man squad watching him from the rooftops until they dropped down in front of him. You know a real ninja strikes when he is not expected to. Naruto coolly said as he leaked out his charka into the cold night trying to prepare for the upcoming fight. Shut up as if we need to hide from you. I can't believe Hokage-sama allowed the demon to be a ninja. Well, thankfully we will rectify the situation, right guys? The other two cheered behind him, readying themselves to take the demon out. Well then, come at me with your will of fire. Watch as I drown your flame in the torrents of the Uzumaki. Geez, I really need to work on my lines. They raced towards Naruto as two of them ran along the sides of the building while the one in the middle sprinted toward him with a pair of kunai. Naruto stood calm as he quickly put his left arm into the air with his palm flat as if he were holding something. Water slowly concentrated into a large orb above his hand from which many sharp water whips emerged from. Water style. Water dragon whip. He stated as calmly as if he were talking about the weather. The two Chunin had no chance of escaping the multitude of whips that quickly sped to their positions along the wall. They soared into the air thinking they escaped, but the whips followed and slammed into their stomachs, making them groan out in pain before they were wrapped up by the water whip and thrown viscously into the ground. The leader thought quickly and used his own jutsu. Earth style. Falling earth spears. He roared out, forcing stone from the ground into spikes that protrude from the ground in order to skewer Naruto. He, however, simply jumped up, letting the immense orb of water to fall to the ground, flooding the street. Naruto stomping on the water beneath him, which forced the water under the leader to explode up. What? The Chunin was surprised to see Naruto above him with what seemed to be a large whirlpool surrounding his arm. You chose the wrong opponent. I win. Water style. Hardened water drill. Naruto jabbed the roaring whirlpool drill straight into the stomach of the Chunin that made the mistake of attacking him. He was sent spiraling down to the ground with incredible force as the ground beneath him ruptured, forcing him to only stare wide-eyed at the amount of power in the technique. He coughed out a large amount of blood as his body was experiencing large amounts of internal bleeding thanks to the powerful close-range jutsu. What he did not fail to notice was the fact he was lying next to his other barely conscious teammates. Hurry up and end us, you demon. He said weakly, coughing more blood up. Naruto was more than happy too, so he formed 3 water spears floating in the air held only by his raised arm, waiting for the signal to skewer the 3 Chunin. He lowered his arm and the 3 water spears followed until he was flooded with images of the past night. Satsuki defending him from Itachi, her smile, her tears, her love. If I do this, I might lose the only person that cares for me. I would never leave you, not for anything. Plus, I think you owe me a goodnight kiss. Even revenge. Even at the cost of my goals. Naruto let the spears lose their form so the Chunin only felt a splash of water hit their faces rather than the quick death they expected. Naruto looked slightly defeated and left to go think when the laughter of the Chunin leader hit his ears. Haha, I was wrong, you're not a demon. Naruto turned to the defeated man, trying to form his clever comment. That's right, you are not a demon. You're not even a man. You are just some piece of trash that blows in the wind only to be occasionally stomped on by anyone who gives enough of a shit to beat you. The Chunin could not continue his speech as 3 water whips materialized and knocked them unconscious with a vicious snap to their heads. Damn. I need to think. Naruto left his attackers in the middle of the street and leapt toward the Hokage mountain to meditate. Naruto sat on Tobirama's head throughout the night, pondering his existence. Who am I? What am I? Am I just a waste of human existence? Am I tool to exact justice to the Senju? Am I destined to be nothing more than average? Am I someone's child that simply was abandoned? Am I just a demon or corrupted by one? These thoughts kept him awake through the cold night until the sun rose and he was broken from his meditation. Arashi was right behind him, doing stretches and jogging in place to warm up. Nice to see you here so early. I thought you would have been late, but it looks like my tips did not work. Well, I guess I am not a miracle worker. Arashi, I don't feel like sparing now, he said in a defeated tone. Arashi picked up on this and stopped messing around. I have never heard him sound so sad. Sigh. Arashi sat down next to him, enjoying the warm sun hitting his face. He asked Naruto how the date went and Naruto just shrugged, saying it was alright. Fine Tem, if everything went fine then why are you up here moping like your dog died? Arashi asked tiredly because he just wanted to get to sparring. Naruto took a deep breath and asked Arashi about his past. You mean my life? Why the sudden interest? Naruto did not say anything but thought out his response. Maybe if I hear someone's life I can get the answers I seek. Well, Arashi sighed and ready to tell his only real guy friend the truth. I am not really a Sarutobi to begin with. Naruto turned to him wondering what he meant. That's right, I was orphan raised by Jiji-sama. My full name is actually Arashi Hano. Naruto laughed at that. Hano. Seriously? Flame, that is surprisingly fitting. Hey, shut up. I did not pick my name. Thankfully, even though I was raised as a Sarutobi, Jiji made sure to let me know that I was also a Hano. It was this reminder that made me feel like a stranger in a clan that raised me. Naruto could not help but look wide-eyed at his normally jubilant sparring partner as he started to become sad while telling Naruto his past. It was not bad in the beginning, but when I started to show real promise in fire jutsu, Jiji took me in full time, causing there to be a lot of jealousy in the clan at my position of his apprentice. Many other full-blooded Sarutobi wished that he would train their child, but he chose me and just one of the many orphans thanks to the Kyuubi attack. It was awesome at first, but I would not spend all my time with him, so I tried to play with the other kids, but Arashi took a deep breath and looked at Naruto to see if he was still listening. Naruto was wrapped up in this story and could not help but feel a small spark of hope flicker in him. They would always leave when I got there. Their parents would encourage them not to play with me because it was the only way they could try to make me quit without hurting him physically. So I tried to play out this Joker personality to get friends, but that did not work. I wore a smile throughout all my training because I thought that if I was strong I would get friends to notice me for me not as Jiji's apprentice, but that did not work. I was so depressed at 11 years old to the point I just did not really feel like training anymore, and I think that Jiji saw that, so he enrolled me in the academy. You know, that first day I showed up on top of the monkey summon. Yeah, well, I can't really summon monkeys. Naruto looked surprised outwardly, but he was not too surprised as he never summoned monkeys over the years during their spars. Yeah, not a real big surprise, but I could not sign the contract because I was not a full-blooded Sarutobi. Once I was old enough to be on my own, I was put into a house separate from the rest of the Sarutobi estate homes, as I could not live in the same house thanks to his children having grandchildren, making space limited, so they gave me the old house in the grove. Coming to the academy was the best thing in my life because it's where I met my first real friends and the love of my life. Well, I might not be the love of my life, but I do care for her deeply and I would give up anything to be with her. Naruto at this point felt as if Arashi was like a long-lost brother. We are so similar and yet we are so different. What happened? Why is he still smiling? What kept me going was my dream of being Hokage. I first wanted to become the Hokage to get attention, but then I met you, Satsuki, and others who gave me bonds and made me matter beyond just the title of the Sandaimi's apprentice. That's why I will never quit until I am strong enough to beat you and prove to you that I can be strong enough to defend my friends. Arashi, well, that's enough about me. Tell me about yourself, Naruto. Naruto sighed and looked towards the rising sun. I was always alone. An orphan locked away in an orphanage, never destined to become a real person, just a thing on the shelf to gather dust. Arashi looked as if he going to interrupt, but Naruto lifted up his hand, stopping Arashi's outburst. I thought being with Satsuki and becoming a ninja would make me feel like a man, but the truth is I don't really know what that means. You see, most little boys received comfort from their parents when they were crying. Well, that process never happened for me. I learned that tears were something I should never show, as the thing that caused me pain in the first place was not nearly as bad as my reaction to it. What I did know, however, was as the other children grew up, that comfort also stopped for them once they were supposed to big boys. It was just a regular day and this kid in the orphanage was crying about his hurt knee, but instead of getting a hug saying that it was going to get better, all he got was a pat on the head and, "Hey, you're a big boy now and big boys don't cry." He learned the same lesson as I did all those years ago, so what did he do? He subconsciously knew that he depended on these big people for everything and he needs approval, so he sucked up his tears and faked that he was fine to get a pat on the head and a good boy. We got approval from stamping down the emotions of something that actually happened to us. It happened again, and again until we become grown men living in pain as a definer of what it means to be a man. Naruto stopped his speech as he tried to distance himself from the memories of the orphanage until he felt Arashi's hand on his shoulder signifying he was with him. So I figured out the crying thing and found my way in the world. I saw myself reflected in objects, not people, because no one was like me, only the things around me could understand, as I was ignored just as much as the floor people walked on. This became my code in life and it worked, and as the years passed I found myself okay but still holding on to this hope that things would get better. What I wanted was not in my norm, to be locked away like a prisoner and ignored like an object on a shelf. No, it was over there. Naruto pointed to the village illuminated in the morning sun, which to him symbolized life, freedom, and a future. So to get there I had to literally break away from my code, walk through no man's land to get to where I wanted to go. In me wanting to leave, it created a tremendous amount of anxiety and fear in those who made my code and forced me to live by it. It was much easier for everyone to pull me back onto my code than it was for everyone to accept that I made a decision to step off my intended path. So what did they do to get me back? They punished me verbally, physically, and emotionally. Verbally, I was scolded and told that things like me don't get to leave there. Physically, I was beaten at the age of 6 when I made my first escape, and all the time after that I was reminded never to do leave again. Quote. So I almost quit until I heard the story of a hero, which gave me hope that he would save me from this hell since he faced a true demon himself, but in the end that was a lie. When even both verbal and physical pain did not work to pull me back onto my path of staying a thing to be ignored, they emotionally attacked me. When my hero found out that neither words nor physical punishment stopped me, he casted me aside like smoke that did not even exist and left me. I can still remember the day when he lied straight to my face and left me to die later by the hands of the Anbu. Arashi was wide-eyed and was struggling to listen to his friend's past. How can I be his friend when I could never understand what he went through? I can't believe that I thought just because I spent time with him I was his friend. Naruto ignored Arashi's sad face and tried to finish his story. I lost my connection to the only person who I thought would help me. I almost gave up right there, but thanks to my bloodline and a new place to live in, it was enough to keep me living on. I thought that living away from all the pain would be what I wanted, but when I got there I found that it wasn't what I really wanted. I found myself, a 7-year-old, all alone in a hole in the ground with no one to matter to. I was nobody. I was not even something that people would thank that was dead. For all of my trials and tribulations I found that this freedom was worse. I did not matter to anyone. So I set myself a new code to be something that could not be ignored and to lash out at my abusers when I was strong enough, but I needed more. I needed bonds, but at the time I did not know that, so I went to the academy just to grow stronger. I got rivals and a sparring partner in Arashi who spent time with me even if it was just to fight. However, I keep those ties loose though so I won't be hurt again, but it wasn't enough and Satsuki-chan stormed right into my life, and for the first time in my life I felt as if I reached a peace in my life as she fulfilled my need to matter, and I don't want to lose her now or ever. I would yell off this mountain and tell everyone that I love Satsuki, but I can't. I can't go through that pain again only for her to leave me and find myself alone again knowing that all my pain was for nothing. She says she loves me because of my strong will, but the truth is that I would become nothing if I did not have her. I would end myself if that happened. Naruto stopped when he felt a strong grip around his shoulder and looked right into Arashi's fierce brown eyes. If you ever kill yourself, I would bring you back to life just to knock some sense in you. You don't have to do this all alone. I'm your friend even if you don't see it. I will help you bear the weight of being alone with you. You are my friend Naruto Uzumaki, not just something to be ignored. Arashi stood up and looked down at his clenched fist that was on fire. Even if the path comes with pain, I will walk with my friends all the same. He finished, promising Naruto he would always be there no matter what. Naruto was in shock and looked on as Arashi finished with a bright smile and a thumbs up as the sun was high in the sky, giving Arashi a warm glow. You are the second rock in my life, Arashi. As my friend, you give me peace knowing I have you supporting me. Well, at least for now. Naruto thought back on his plans to lash out at those who hurt him, but did they really matter anymore? Maybe you will help me with that as well, friend. Arashi held his hand out as Naruto accepted and was lifted up. Well, I think we should have another spar, what do you say? Naruto just shook his head and asked if he need to be somewhere else. Oh, you are right. I and Satsuki will kill me if I am late to the first training session. Bye, man. Arashi shunshined away, trying to get the training field before Kakashi got there. Naruto looked at the spot Arashi shunshined from before he spoke to the figure that had been watching him for a while. You can come out now, Anko-sensei. She walked out with a smirk on her face, knowing that she was easily detected thanks to Naruto's sensor ability. Well, come on, brat, we have our first mission to escort the Hidden Waterfall Village's new leader, since it's clear he is too much of pansy to go back on his own. Alright, I will be there soon. Anko told him to meet her in an hour at the front gate, fully supplied for a couple weeks as the mission could take quite a while. That's alright, I just have to get more supplies and I will be there. Anko nodded and left via Shunshin to get the client ready to leave. Naruto, however, did not let his eyes leave from where Arashi was standing before he looked out over the mountain to look into the sun and the activity of the village early in the morning. For my friends, I will matter. Remember my name. Naruto looked at the spot Arashi shunshined from before he spoke to the figure that had been watching him for a while. You can come out now, Anko-sensei. She walked out with a smirk on her face, knowing that she was easily detected thanks to Naruto's sensor ability. Well, come on, brat, we have our first mission to escort the Hidden Waterfall Village's new leader, since it's clear he is too much of pansy to go back on his own. Alright, I will be there soon. Anko told him to meet her in an hour at the front gate, fully supplied for a couple weeks as the mission could take quite a while. That's alright, I just have to get more supplies and I will be there. Anko nodded and left via Shunshin to get the client ready to leave. Naruto, however, did not let his eyes leave from where Arashi was standing before he looked out over the mountain to look into the sun and the activity of the village early in the morning. For my friends, I will matter. Naruto created a hand sign and Shunshin to the one place where he could resupply his gear and hopefully run into the only person he wanted to see before he left on his first real mission. Arriving in front of the Uchiha district, Naruto walked toward the Uchiha's weapons shop to get his necessities and maybe run into Satsuki, seeing as she worked in the shop from time to time. Of course, if it was up to her, she would rather not work there, but Makoto and Fugaku insisted she work there occasionally until she began her missions. He entered the shop only to find Satsuki working, but with her were two Uchihas that were obviously trying to hit on her. Satsuki had a forced smile on her face as she was dealing these two who would always try to get her attention. Hey, Satsuki-chan. The first one walked right up to the counter, ignoring the dark glare of Satsuki by taking that to be a clear sign to go ahead and work his magic. He suddenly stopped and started shaking for no reason. He stopped after a while and looked up to Satsuki's unamused face. Whoa. Did you feel that earthquake? Satsuki rolled her eyes and said no. Cause you just rocked my world. He looked expectantly at her only to find her attention on the second Uchiha. Do you need any help that does not involve trying to hit on me like your foolish friend? He looked over at his friend and shrugged, trying to cover up his snickers at his pathetic attempt. Yeah, do you have any bandages? I scraped my knee falling for you. Naruto was just about to fly across the room to nail him for that line, but Satsuki already had it covered as she threw a couple of kunai faster than the two young Uchiha could react, delivering a long cut across both of their cheeks. Yeah, they are waiting for you at the hospital, where I will happily deliver the two of you. Sigh, I would do that right now, but I think your girlfriends would get mad at me. They were confused. They did not have girlfriends, so who could she be talking about? We don't have girlfriends, Satsuki. Who are you talking about? She made a shushing sound and said that they should not be too loud as Palmela Henderson might hear them. Palmela. Satsuki just nodded as the two were confused until she gave the superior Uchiha smirk and was about to tell them exactly who she was talking, but before she could do so, Naruto appeared behind Satsuki in a burst of speed. Naruto wrapped his arms around her from behind in a possessive manner and dug his head in the crook of her neck, taking a quick nibble only for his mouth to turn into a smirk as he heard her quietly mew under his sudden attack, with a playful glare. The two who were watching the scene were going to jump him to defend her, trying to ignore the obvious enjoyment Satsuki was partaking in, but were stopped by Naruto's icy glare that was enhanced by his cold blue eyes. Shut up. Leave before I decide to end both of you here and now. To answer your dumbass questions 1. Satsuki is mine and mine alone. He held her tighter to him and she let him pull her into him to prove his point. 2nd. Palmella Henderson is the palm of your hand, so go home and yourself. Naruto flared his large chakra to prove his point, and before they could muster the courage to fight back, he materialized 2 water whips and quickly forced them out. He ignored their cries as he continued to kiss Satsuki's neck from behind. Naruto-kun, MMH, what are you doing here? She struggled to get out as Naruto never had shown her this much attention so suddenly, especially in the open, which was quickly turning her on. Oh, you know, I just need some things. Kunai, shuriken, smoke bombs, he finished in a husky tone while punctuating each word with a gentle kiss, making her get goose bumps along her skin. Why is he acting so strange? Satsuki pulled away and turned to see Naruto's blue eyes that matched her coal eyes with the same caring expression she saw last night after they made up. However, that was not what she was concerned about, but rather the clear signs of sleep deprivation on his face. Naruto-kun, what's wrong? She cupped his face in concern. Seeing this, Naruto could not help but fall for her even harder. Nothing, Satsuki-chan. I came by to get supplies for my mission and to see you before I left for a while, as I don't really know how long the mission will last. Satsuki pouted a little as she was itching to go on a real mission since she was ready to do AC rank after all of those D ranks in the academy. If she was honest with herself, she was worried for Naruto, as he would basically be alone with Anko as the only teammate to help him. He could face enemy ninjas, deadly traps, enemy kunoichi that might take an interest in him. Naruto pulled Satsuki from her worries by telling her that everything was going to fine. Fine, but look, before you go, I need to try my new jutsu on you to see if it works. Naruto was interested to see her new technique, so he followed Satsuki to the small training field behind the shop and stopped himself in front of the large tree. So how does this work? Naruto turned to Satsuki only to find her Sharingan blazing and her throwing shuriken with ninja wire attached. Incredible. A Sharingan windmill triple attack. She has gotten better. He thought about dodging, but he had a better plan in mind as ninja wire tightly bound his entire body to the trunk of the tree. Satsuki smirked and lifted the end of the ninja wire to her mouth and began to weave hand signs. Snake, right pointing arrow, dragon, right pointing arrow, rabbit, right pointing arrow, tiger. Fire style. Dragon flame jutsu. A large stream of fire raced along the wire to the basically defenseless Naruto, aiming to turn him into charcoal. The blast of fire connected, creating a large hole in the trunk as the power behind the jutsu was like a cannon, and the tree was now caught in a storm of fire, leaving Naruto in the middle of it all. The jutsu subsided, leaving only the burnt tree and the ninja wire wrapped around it, but where was Naruto? She could not think on it long as she was swept off her feet and swung in the air. Nice job, Satsuki-chan, you almost had me there. Naruto said as he went to another nearby tree to lie against the bark, bringing her to lie against his chest with his arms around her. Satsuki, however, was in a slightly sour mood as she wanted at least to surprise Naruto, but it quickly faded as she rubbed her cheek against the fur from Naruto's collar and yawned. Naruto stayed silent, enjoying the feeling of Satsuki snuggling deeper into him and the breeze gently blowing her black bangs, drawing him into her sleeping face. Kami, she is an angel. Naruto looked up and took a deep breath, basking in the warm glow of the sunshine hitting his face. This is perfect. I swear, Satsuki-chan, I will do anything to protect this. Naruto knew in that moment what he was defending now that he was a ninja. This village is not just buildings and people, it is her home and I will make sure to keep her safe. Naruto looked back down to the resting Satsuki and kissed the top of her head to wake her. Satsuki stirred but refused to wake up from her nap. I have to go. I need to report at the gate soon. She quietly groaned and slowly pulled away until she remembered something. Oh, Naruto-kun, I have something for you, as I noticed you only have armor netting under your shirt to protect yourself. She pulled Naruto up from the ground and giggled as she saw him stumble slightly as he was dragged back into the shop. Come on. Both had a smile on their face as they returned into the shop to get him ready to leave. Naruto was now standing at the entrance to the Uchiha district with a backpack full of supplies and new white flak jacket based on the Jonin designs, as it had multiple pockets for scrolls and other things, but instead of a red Uzumaki swirl on the back it was in black, and since it was missing the high collar, his large fur collar could fit over the shoulder padding. Naruto thought it was great as it was both useful and fit the rest of his clothes, as they were all black with the collar being the only thing in white. Naruto said goodbye and turned to leave until he felt Satsuki wrap him up in a tight hug. Look, just be careful out there, alright? I don't want to lose you because you wanted to be a tough guy, and don't open up the scroll I put in the jacket until you need to. Naruto smirked and told her he was tough enough for AC rank. He kissed her quickly and left in a shunshin for the gate, missing Satsuki's worried look turn into a sigh. There is no way anything would intimidate him enough to quit once he has his mind on something. Road to the hidden waterfall village. Naruto, Anko, and Shibuki, who had ink black eyes, long, dark brown hair with gray pants, a green shirt, and ninja sandals, were now walking along the dirt roads leading to the village when a bird suddenly took flight. Naruto and Anko paid no attention to it, but Shibuki took it as if he was being attacked, so he hid behind Naruto. At least he would have if Naruto did not step away in disgust at his cowardice. This is the leader of the waterfall village. Pitiful, and his father was supposedly a hero. Che. Naruto shook his head, leaving the young Shibuki to try and act as if he was never scared in the first place. It was just a bird, get it together, we are almost at your village. He walked up to Anko, who was smirking, seeing how Shibuki was getting under his skin. Finally they reached a small overlook that gave a majestic view of a gigantic waterfall. I guess we are here, come on, let's finish the last leg, Gaki. Naruto just nodded and silently sighed to himself. This was so boring. It feels as if I did more in D ranks than in this escort mission. Well, at least it looks nice here, but honestly I just want to get back to the village and train more. Lord Shibuki. Lord Shibuki. Welcome home. Two small children ran up to the village leader as he stopped them from jumping on him. Keep some distance. Show some respect for your village leader. I am sorry that I don't have time to play with you. Shibuki stood with his arms crossed, giving an act as the village leader he was supposed to be. But that's not why we are here. We are supposed to clean the trash up by the shore. Mother is making us pick up every piece. Shibuki said that he understood and told them that he brought some help. These ninja here come from the Hidden Leaf village and have come to help. Don't worry, we will pay you for your time. Naruto narrowed his eyes and looked over to Anko, who was smiling. Come on, Gaki, a little community service never hurt anyone. Of course this will be in addition to the escort fee, but it seems that our escort phase is over. I would agree, but you aren't going to do anything. Sigh. Whatever, it will be quick since they all seem to just be floating in the water. Naruto walked over to edge of the shore ready to get this mission over with. Thanks so much, ninja. The current can be pretty strong at the edge. Naruto held up half a tiger hand sign and began to infuse his chakra along the surface of the water like a blanket. This is good training. I have to try and expand the amount of water I can manipulate on my own without hand signs. Now feel the disturbances in the chakra field, and at those points expel chakra out like a geyser, forcing the object up into the air with the water. Naruto closed his eyes and used his Senor ability to map out the large pool under the waterfall. Interesting, there seems to be small chakra sources in the water as well. Well, here it goes. He forced his chakra to concentrate under the trash while maintain control of the entire lake. Ha! He pushed his charka through, but instead of a large display of water manipulation, he got nothing. Lord Shibuki, why is the ninja just yelling at the water? Shibuki was just as confused, but Anko knew what he was trying to do. It seems something is preventing him control over the water, but what could cause that? He seems totally fine. Naruto was also quickly reviewing what he did to see where he went wrong, but the answer decided to show itself. Hey, what's the big deal here? Are you trying to turn this pond into a water park? Everyone turned to the voice in the water only to find two otters holding paws while floating on their backs. It would have been a cute scene, but the angry face of the male otter kind of ruined it. I am just floating with my mate here, and some hotshot water manipulator is too lazy to pick up the trash by just walking into the water. By the way, rookie, any more chakra in the water and you would have blown the trash in a sky high. Naruto had a tick mark on his head as this small otter was getting in his face about his skills, but stopped when he thought about the implications of what just occurred. If he was right, then I would have wasted a lot of chakra just to get some trash. Plus, Naruto looked over at the summoning animal that was able to stop him. His water manipulation must be at an incredible level to stop me. He is dangerous even if he does not look like it. Rakotetsu. Leave the boy alone, he seems nice enough, he probably did not mean to, right? Even if he did not mean to, it almost took everything out of me to stop him. Rakotetsu narrowed his eyes at the sight of the young water master. He looks like the second Hokage of the Hidden Leaf. Is he a descendant? Two-san said he was the only one alive able to match our level of raw water manipulation, but he should be dead by now and he seems too young to be at his level, unless he is one of them. Naruto matched Rakotetsu's inquisitive stare with his own and started forming his own thoughts on the small otter. Iron Sea Otter. Why would his name be that? I don't like this at all. Naruto was broken out of his thoughts as a messenger hawk soared in, breaking the tense situation. Anko quickly took the message off its leg only to glance at it and smirk. Oi Gaki, make sure to play nice with the kitties and the plushy animals, I have to go. Shibuki, who did not want to be in the middle of this, asked why she was leaving. There is an emergent session of the Jonin Council, so I have to go. Naruto, when you are done here don't leave, I should be back by the end of the day, so fiddle with your thumbs or jerk off, I don't really care. Ya nay. With that, Anko sprinted away into the forest, leaving Naruto with his middle finger in the air to her back. Rakotetsu did not like the idea of being around Naruto but had to ask one important question. Hey, boy, what is your name? Naruto looked back to the sea otter only to shoot back that he did not have to answer that. Naruto-san, please don't make trouble with the otters. They were my father's summons and they stayed after he died so that they could help defend the village. Naruto had enough and just ignored them and began to pick up the trash by hand. Rakotetsu and his mate swam away, seeing that they were not going to get his full name. Naruto, Maelstrom, I will keep my eyes on you if you are who I think you are. Forest outside village. Teams of missing ninja were swarming in the forest around the hidden waterfall village, trying to get into their positions. Standing in the nearby forest, a shadowy figure held his hand to the earpiece, listening to reports from his teams. Kira, same team checking in, we are in position at point X. Murasama team approaching point Y. Hisame team reporting we are at point Z. The leader was pleased to hear that his teams were already in place. Good. Converge on target. You all know the plan. He cut communications off with his team and looked over at his companion, or at least his summon. You know we are going to need your help in this, so be a good boy and kill those pesky otters. The wolf next to him glared at his summoner with clear anger. Don't call me or any of my pack that, or we will rip your throat out and find a new summoner. Suian. Hasuga, Lotus Fang, growled out at him. Hasuga was an all-white wolf with feral yellow eyes and black pupils that came up to Suian's waist, which made him larger than a normal wolf. The figure turned to look at Hasuga, who was now identified as the Hidden Waterfall's missing ninja Suian. He had long spiky hair, dark eyes, and a goatee, along with a dark blue jacket, gray pants, sandals, and a bandana that held his hair out of his face. Whatever, look, we already agreed that you would help me destroy the village and you get to take a higher position in the summoning world by beating the otters. Hasuga said nothing but slowly faded away with the rest of the silent pack behind him ready to go to war. A few moments later, all three teams were gathered along with their team leaders in a semicircle around Suion. Murasama was the first to speak up. Are you sure that this is the best way to get into the village, Master Suion? This is their weakest point. Murasama was a muscular, tough-looking shinobi. He was wearing a black, sleeveless shirt, gray pants, ninja sandals, and arm warmers which looked similar to Zabuza Momochi's. He also had about chin-length gray hair which was spiked at the top. Trust me, I used to be a jonin of this very village for many years. The team leader next to Murasama just started laughing and was ready to head out. Kirasame, control yourself. I want all killing held to a minimum. He just scoffed and replied with a sarcastic yes sir. Kirasame had on a black hat-like forehead protector with the Omegakure symbol on the front of it, tied in the back of his head. His messy, chin-length brown hair was coming out from under his headband, covering his left eye, giving him a dangerous look. So you still have sentimental feeling for the place? Murasama said. Suion glared at him and told him that he was wrong. That's not why, you fool. The only one who knows where the hero's water is hidden is Shibuki, the village's so-called leader. Right, so in order to get him to talk we will need to take the villagers as hostages. Isn't that right? The final team leader said. Well, I always said you were the cleverest ninja in the Hidden Rain village, Hisame. She smirked at Suion, enjoying the compliment. That was a long time ago. Now I am just like you, a rouge ninja without a home. Hisame is a young, quite tall, and slim kunoichi. She had short light brown hair, blue earrings, red lipstick and a white hairband over her head, holding the hair out of the way from her eyes. She wore a pink tube top with an open, light blue shirt, navy blue pants and ninja sandals, giving her a dainty and unassuming look, but the sharp look in her dark eyes gave away just how deadly she truly was. Great. We are all a loving family of vagabonds. Now can we just get down there and grab this thing, or are we going to reminisce all day? Kirasame was itching to get some action and Suion could easily tell. Suion walked past them and looked toward the direction of the village. Fine, let's get started. Naruto let out a harsh breath as he was mentally exhausted from the two kids just talking about how great Shibuki was as a leader. Thankfully, they were done cleaning up and he returned to dry land. All right, I am done here. Naruto looked at Shibuki expectantly as if he was waiting for something. What, you want a free meal or a thank you? Your job is done now. Go, leave, there is nothing keeping you here. All right then. Naruto put his hands in his pockets as he walked away from the group. The secret entrance to the hidden waterfall village must be nearby, so he does not want me to see it. Che. At least that's something I can respect. He does not trust his so-called allies. Thanks a lot, Naruto. See you, bye. The two children called out. He gave a short goodbye to the two kids and walked away until he heard the small girl call out for her mother. A middle-aged woman slowly walked out into the clearing, struggling to talk. Lord Shibuki, it was horrible. They came out of nowhere. They attacked without warning. She passed out and landed on her face, revealing the kunai lodged into her back. Mother. As the two children and Shibuki rushed to the injured woman, Naruto closed his eyes, focusing his chakra. 4 chakra sources coming in from the waterfall right now. Naruto flashed in front of the group as a rain of kunai rushed toward them. He slammed his hands onto the surface of the water and called out his jutsu. Water style. Water barrier jutsu. A large wall of water erupted from the pool, stopping the hail of kunai. As the wall was going to fall, Naruto created a shadow clone. Ha! It's only one ninja, let's get them. One of the hired ninja said as they were coming down from the air to fight him, but they would not make it to the ground, well alive at least. Henge. The shadow clone transformed into a giant windmill shuriken and was thrown viciously at the incoming enemies. It raced forward and split into two as the second one was hidden under the shadow of the first one. Murasama was the only one to dodge as the other three were quickly killed by Naruto's technique. Damn, this kid is good. He used the water wall to not only stop the kunai but also to perform his jutsu, only to take it a step further by making us believe he only made one Fuma Shuriken but hid the second one beneath it with the Shadow Shuriken jutsu. Master Suian needs to hear about this. You will not escape. Naruto slammed his hands together as if he was crushing something that was between them. Two large drill of water quickly closed on Murasama's position, aiming to squish him. Shit. He barely was able to dodge the violent torrents of water by infusing chakra into his jump back into the waterfall to go report to his leader. Damn, I got all but one. He turned to see Shibuki in a ball on the ground, shaking in fear. Lord Shibuki. He got up and waved the small boy off, telling him that he was just excited. Okay, I will be seeing this mission to the end. He looked over the situation at hand. Okay. We need to move quickly as there are more of them out there. The enemy fled, probably only to report back to his leader and tell him of my appearance. So the enemy will retreat for only a short time to gather and strike at the threat, which is me right now. I don't know how many there are, why they are here. I also have an injured civilian, 2 children, and no backup. Naruto formulated a plan in his mind quickly. Look. More will come and are likely to be already in the village. We don't have much time before they counterattack. He formed 2 shadow clones and had one carry the injured woman away while the other would provide overwatch if they encountered any enemies outside the village. Shibuki nodded and led him to the side of the immense waterfall. So the entrance is behind the waterfall. I guess that's nice, cliché but nice. Let me remain clear. You must never reveal the secret to anyone. Naruto just gave a slight nod so they could get moving already. When they reached the cave behind the waterfall, they took cover behind a large rock until Naruto gave the all-clear sign. If you are coming, follow me. Shibuki dove into one of the multiple water holes in the cave that lead into the village. Once he dived into the water, Naruto decided to say what had been on his mind. He is a coward until someone else makes sure everything is clear. And then he suddenly is the second coming of the Sage of Six Paths. He scoffed and was about to dive when he received the memories of his shadow clones. So I was right, there are more, but at least that is one more down. Just a few minutes before, Naruto's shadow clone was finished treating the children's mother. Okay, she should be alright now, but she will be unconscious for a while, seeing as she lost a good amount of blood. The little girl cried into her arm as the boy next to her tried to comfort her. Don't cry, Shizuku. It will be alright. Lord Shibuki will take care of this, you'll see. Shizuku sniffed her nose but nodded nonetheless, trusting that her leader would take care of it. Naruto's shadow clone acted normal but sensed an incoming ninja trying to sneak attack from behind him. Only one chakra source. I have to get him off guard as I can only take one hit. I have to play this right. I'd be very surprised. Kirasame delivered a quick chop to the back of the surprised shadow clone, who was dispersed immediately with a shocked look on his face. His reactions are a little slow and he calls himself a ninja. He chuckled and approached the 2 defenseless children. He towered over the 2 threateningly, only for him to fall over to the side, knocked out cold. Naruto. But I thought you were gone. Shizuku asked the clone, who had quickly moved out of his hiding spot when he saw Kirasame about to capture the children. No, he only took out the first clone, thinking that I would be foolish enough to leave only one to defend you. The 2 kids could not help but be impressed by his strategy. Sacrifice one pawn to capture a larger piece. It is almost amateur, which clearly shows the level of intelligence of this one. He bound Kirasame to a tree trunk with the supplies the original left with him in case of trouble. Thanks, Satsuki-chan. The original Naruto and Shibuki slowly emerged from the water on the lookout for any enemies. Naruto looked around and could not help but be amazed by the giant tree that was in the center of the village, covering its own small island. Looking to the right and left, he gathered a crude layout of the village. Okay, the village is split in the middle by the large river supplying the tree in the middle. They live primarily in small wooden huts, indicating a majority of this village consists of small families. Seeing no immediate danger, Naruto swam to the shore to get a closer look at the village. Shibuki, however, never left the water but instead dove and swam away from the shore. Naruto got on one knee and put two finger into the ground trying to push his sensor ability to the maximum. Breath. Okay. Shibuki's chakra is heading towards the tree, so he is probably trying to hide. There are 3 incoming enemies, but wait. Naruto's eyes jerked up towards the top of the massive tree. What is this massive chakra source? It feels like he could not think any further as 3 hired ninjas swarmed him from the air. Did they ever learn? He clapped his hands together. Water style. Water shockwave. A large twister of water formed around him which connected with the 3 rogue ninja. The spiraling vortex of water fell, revealing a smirking Naruto in a ready taijutsu stance. Come on guys, I am just getting started. The 3 rushed at him with kunai in hand, so he took to the air and formed hand signs quickly. Tiger right pointing arrow, ox right pointing arrow, tiger right pointing arrow, rat, water style, water bullets. Naruto spewed out an unpredictable volley of small water balls which were controlled by his chakra, so they were not avoided. He nailed them in the chest, revealing the hidden kunai in each shot, so that took them down for good. Now too. Naruto could not move as he was suddenly bound by what appeared to be a thick rope of water held on both ends by Hisama and Murasama. You're not bad at all, kid. Hisama said as she was struggling to hold Naruto in place. You really did not think it would be as easy as last time, did you? Hisama then asked if they should finish him off, only to be stopped by Suian himself. Wait. He appeared behind Naruto suddenly. I would say that he would be useful for negations, but you fools obviously can't tell he is just a clone. Isn't that right? Naruto just smirked before dissolving into water, revealing to the astonished Hisama and Murasama that he was a clone the entire time. Hisama closed her eyes as she ran over the fight in her mind to see when he got away. It was right at the beginning of the fight. He did not need such a flashy jutsu to dodge the other ninja's attack, so when he performed the water shockwave jutsu, he had already snuck away in the river. We were played like fools. She balled her fists and looked toward Suian and asked what they were going to do. Now we wait for Shibuki to come out with the hero's water. We still have the hostages, so this kid won't be able to stop Shibuki from handing it over. Murasama smiled deviously. So he either has to save the hostages or stop us from getting the hero's water. He can't do both things at once since we have them in a separate place on the other side of the village. Suian smirked along with Hisame, and the trio of rogue ninja left to wait for Shibuki. Spirit Tree. The real Naruto had been spending his time climbing the giant tree toward the massive chakra source he sensed before. He leapt up the final tree branch to see a small door in the side of the tree trunk. As he entered, he had to under the kunai that flew right at him. He looked up to match his cold blue eyes to empty orange eyes. What are you doing here? Are you here to kill me? She said, breaking the silence, and stepped forward, giving Naruto a better look as to who he sensed before. Her ninja outfit consisted of a short sleeveless white midriff shirt with fishnet armor underneath, long white armlets, and fishnet shorts with a short white apron skirt over it. Her forehead protector was worn on her right arm. She also carried a cylindrical object in red wrapping on her back. Her hair was mint green, held by an orange clip that matched her eyes. Those eyes, they are like my own. Naruto balled his fists and looked down at the ground. Are you allowed to leave? He whispered to his feet. Fu looked shocked before she saw the look in Naruto's painful blue eyes that spoke of his previous experience. No, I am only here to defend the village as a last resort if the otters fail. Who are you? Naruto asked, but he feared her response. Fu, or at least that's what they said my name was. I am a tool for the village to use only when needed, only to be a weapon on the shelf to strike out at its enemies. Naruto rocketed across the room and was about to deliver a punch to her head when he stopped inches away, seeing that she was not going to stop him. Why did you not stop me? Naruto bit his lower lip to stop his shaking from the overwhelming memories of Minato about to kill him. I just am. If I died, I would not matter less than I would alive. Naruto grabbed her arms and shook her. Don't say that. There has to be something. Anything that you want. Fu looked down at the floor and whispered something that he couldn't hear. He asked her again, only to hear what he did not want to hear. Death. Just end it all. There is nothing for a monster like me. He slapped her right across the face. Wake up. You felt that right. You are not a monster. There has to be someone that cares. Fu held her hand to her orange hair clip as she thought back to her childhood when Shibuki gave her that orange hair clip. There is someone, but it was a long time ago. Naruto let his arms drop as he did not know what else to say to her. He saw himself in her and it scared him. Was this who he would have been if he had never escaped the orphanage? If he had just accepted what he was told as a child? Accepting the lies and hate of others? If he had never met Arashi and Satsuki? He went towards the exit but stopped before he left. You know, you remind me so much of myself. Naruto gripped the doorknob in his hand hard enough to leave finger imprints in the wood. I grew up having people tell me that I was a monster and that I was destined to live alone under the constant watch of others like a caged animal. Naruto turned to Fu, who was holding herself. But I never gave in. I did not accept the path others set for me, so I fought against a tremendous amount of pain to find and make my own path, so I left the prison they kept me in. Fu looked up at Naruto, shocked that someone had experienced her suffering. What was it like, this new path you were on? How did freedom feel? She asked, hanging on to Naruto's word like a lifeline. He turned back toward the exit. I hated it. I would have preferred my cage, as at least I would be watched even if it was for the wrong reasons. Fu gasped, wondering why he would feel that way when he escaped his pain. I know what you are thinking. Me running away from the others only brought my pain to the forefront as I could no longer ignore it. I was lonely. Loneliness. True loneliness was what I tried to ignore, so I looked towards the hope of freedom to comfort me, but it did nothing for me. Before I escaped, if I died, at least there would be those that would praise my death, but now that I was free, I truly did not matter. Not even in death would I mean anything. Naruto crushed the doorknob in his hand into nothing but splinters. So why are you here? Why did you not end it all by now? Naruto looked back at Fu and threw the shattered remains of the door lock to the ground. Because cages and freedom are both worthless. These locks that keep you here matter as much as the sunlight that hits your face outside. There is no difference if you're free or if you're locked away, because you are still you. Nothing has changed except the environment that surrounds you. That's why true loneliness is not defined by the physical walls one is imprisoned by, but is defined by the walls that make the person feel as if he is trapped within himself. You put those walls up thinking they will save you from the pain of the outside world, but you only hurt more by exiling yourself from others. Others give your life meaning. Fu, I lived alone on anger until I met people who would eventually become my friends. They gave me a new life. I was not just something to be ignored. Naruto pointed to his headband as he said what came to his mind. You know why I wear this headband? I did not become a ninja to protect the village that made me feel like a monster, or its leader that treated me as if I were smoke. I became strong to protect my friends. I fight to protect those who keep me alive. This I swear. Naruto got right into Fu's face. There is nothing for you here, so go and make bonds with others, as that will prove your existence. Naruto went out the door and said his final words. You know, I just met you and here I am giving you a lecture, but there can be no bad blood between those who have suffered the same pain. I will be your first friend, Fu. I will bear the weight of your loneliness and prove that you exist. Tears streamed down Fu's face as she jumped into Naruto's arms. Thank you, thank you, thank you. She just kept repeating herself as she cried into his shoulder. Naruto held her for a while, but he knew he had to go. Fu, your village is under attack. I can't let these people destroy this place, now more than ever, so please forgive me. Naruto let go and sprinted out the door to free fall toward the ground. I can't lose now. Naruto began to weave signs as he approached the ground to slow himself down, but he did not have to as he felt a pair of arms hold him in the air. Fu. Naruto looked up to the smiling face of the Seven Tails Jinchuriki and saw the wings coming out of her back. Just like you said, I won't let my new friend do this alone. So I will show you how Fu gets it done. Fu flew through the air with amazing grace as Naruto could not help but love the feeling of flying. As the pair landed on the ground, things got serious quickly. Fu, why would anyone invade your village? Fu thought about it for a while until the answer hit her. The hero's water. The water is produced once every 100 years from the giant tree that hides the village. It allows a ninja to have at least a 10-fold increase in chakra for a short period of time. In exchange for this power, the water shortens the user's lifespan proportional by the number of times his chakra is increased. That answers the what, but how will he get it? The only person who would know where something that important would be, shit. Shibuki will give him the water in exchange for the hostages, that's why he did not kill anyone. Suion wants Shibuki to deliver the water himself. Naruto bit his lip as he could not both save the hostages and stop Shibuki before he could hand over the water. He stopped his thoughts as Fu put her hand on his shoulder. Let me get the hostages while you fight Suion. I promise I will not fail. Fu finished with a determined look on her face. Naruto was surprised as he thought she would rather fight Suion than save the people that ignored her. Alright Fu, I trust you, now hold on. Before you fly off I will guide you. He knelt down and put his hand on the ground to reassess the battlefield. Okay, there are a large group of chakra sources to the east at 3 o'clock and 2 chakra sources to the west. Wait, Shibuki's chakra is spiking. He must have drank the water to try and beat him, but that means he has the water with him. I need to move now. Fu, if you fly towards 3 o'clock for 50 meters you should find a large building capable of fitting the hostages. There are many people in there but only 2 ninja capable of putting up any fight. Fu nodded and headed towards that direction, but before she left Naruto told her to be safe. Fu flew away before Naruto could see her crying again. I just hope I'm not too late, he thought as he sprinted towards Suion and Shibuki. Center of village. Shibuki stood in front of Suion with so much chakra flowing through him that it was clearly visible around his body like a moving cloak. Let the villagers go, you coward. You've been waiting for me, right? Well, here I am. Shibuki stared down Suion with no fear in his eyes and prepared to get his people back by force. Well, Shibuki, it's been a long time, has it not? Impressive chakra, I take it you drank from the hero's water. Shibuki responded saying that he did in fact drink the water. Clearly you haven't drunk all of it, so where is the rest of it? He said casually, showing Shibuki how little of a threat he thought he was even with the extra chakra. It won't do you any good since I will defeat you here and now. Suion just laughed at his tough guy act. You do realize even with the hero's water my chakra still surpasses yours. It will not matter if you multiply your chakra by 10 or even 20 times, you will not be able to defeat me. We will soon find out. Take this. Shibuki held out his arm and formed what appeared to be a long and sturdy water sword. Hidden waterfall style. Water slicing blade. Suion matched Shibuki's blade with his own and both leapt at each other to finish their opponent. Soon they were at an impasse as their blade were crossed and each tried to overpower the other. Suion quickly took advantage of his position and altered his body position. Your chakra may have increased but your moves are still the same. You left your guard wide open just like you always did. Suion disarmed Shibuki by forcing his sword out of his hands and up into the air. This is it. Suion stabbed his sword straight through Shibuki's chest and pulled out of him so that he would land onto the ground. Move. I have to move. I need to protect the village. However, he could not get up and was flipped over by Suion's boot. You were weak then and you're still weak now. He checked inside Shibuki's jacket and found the jug of hero's water. How convenient, so you did bring it. What a fool. Now this village will crumble and this world is mine for the taking. Suion proudly held the jug up in the air and took a drink of it, indirectly increasing the power of his foot on Shibuki's bleeding chest. Oh, did I do that? Well, I am sorry, but I have to go now. I have plans for your village. Stop right there. Naruto stood on the water across from Suion and Shibuki with anger clear in his eyes. I can't let you destroy this village, so come at me and fight. Suion laughed right to his face and repeated that he was unstoppable now and that a kid could not prevent him from his destiny. You have no future. Your body will be split open right here. Well then I will just kill you right now then. Suion flickered right in front of Naruto with what he thought was simply too fast for anyone to stop, but was surprised by Naruto catching his fist. But how? You know, You talk too much. Naruto kneed him in the stomach and delivered a viscous kick to his head, sending him skipping along the water like a flat stone. The hero's water must be wearing off. In that case, he drank more of the water, making a large shroud of chakra to appear. With this incredible amount of chakra, he weaved hand signs for his ultimate jutsu. This is the end. Water style. Three-headed dragon storm. 3 large water dragon jutsus combined to form an even larger three-headed dragon and raced towards Naruto to kill him. Naruto held up his right arm right before the dragon storm could strike and stopped it cold in its tracks. Suian could no longer hold up his final hand sign and dropped to his knees as he did not have the physical strength to hold the jutsu in place. People like you make me sick. You drink your strength out of a bottle and think that it is your own. Have a taste of your own medicine. Water style. Three-headed dragon storm. Naruto turned the large beast around and forced it to attack its previous master. Suian could not stop it and took the jutsu head-on, sending him flying into the shore on the other side of the river. How could you turn my jutsu back onto me? Naruto looked surprised that he was still alive but decided to answer his question. That jutsu only consisted of water and your chakra, which is a balance of spiritual and physical energy, so even though the hero's water gave you more spiritual energy, your body failed to match it. So in the end, as it was approaching me, the jutsu was falling apart since your chakra was failing to hold it together. I took over your jutsu by infusing my own chakra into it, overpowering yours, giving me control of it. Suian tried to laugh at his own foolishness as he was just lecturing Shibuki on how he had no idea how to properly use it when this kid from another village figured it out before he could. I guess that none of my jutsu will work now that my body is too weak to complete it. Naruto told him that it was over, but Suian had one more ace up his sleeve, his summoning contract. Naruto could only look in disbelief as Suian drank as much of the hero's water as he could withstand. What are you doing? The fight is over. Suian chuckled under his breath. No, I refuse to have it end this way. I may not be able to finish the fight on my own, but I will make sure this village falls with me. Naruto had no idea what he was going to do, but he knew it was something he needed to stop. Boar right pointing arrow, dog right pointing arrow, bird right pointing arrow, monkey right pointing arrow, ram, summoning jutsu, Kokiga. A massive summoning seal appeared beneath Suian as the last of his strength left him. A massive smoke cloud was created and the sheer amount of wind that blew the smoke away began to push Naruto back out into the water. Naruto looked up and could only say what he thought. Oh shit. Outside manor. Fu finally reached the building where the hostages were held and peered through the window to see all of the villagers bound. She got the attention of a young man and signaled for him to close his eyes and get the rest of them to do the same. He quickly whispered Fu's plan to the others as they were tied together. Once all of them closed their eyes, she made her move. Hey, why do all of you have your eyes closed? Murasama demanded and was about to kick one of them when Fu burst through the door and clapped her hands together. Dust style. Hiding in scale powder jutsu. Fu exhaled a large quantity of fine powder from her mouth, which due to its luminous quality, shined so brightly that it temporarily blinded Hisame, Murasama, and the others guarding the hostages. Fu jumped into action and quickly freed the closest group and left them with some kunai. Take these and free the rest of the villagers. They thanked her, but Fu did not stick around to listen as her powder's effect would not last long. She crouched and summoned her wings to quickly strike. She had taken down nearly all of the enemies by the time Hisame and Murasama could see again. You bitch. Fu finished the last of the hired rogue ninja and turned to the seething pair of missing hidden rain ninja. You will pay for that. Dragon right pointing arrow, tiger right pointing arrow, hair water style. Fu saw him weaving signs along with Hisame and knew that whatever jutsu they used would not only hit her but also the villagers. She forced as much chakra as she could into her wings and rocketed towards them. Flying lariat. Fu connected her powerful lariat to both of their chests, sending them flying through the building away from the villagers. Both struggled to get up, but they still had some fight left in them. Damn it. One more time. Hisame, come on. Water style. Wild water wave. Water gushed out of their mouths like a waterfall, but Fu already prepared her own jutsu to counter. Fan/jutsu. She charged her wings with chakra and formed a large gust of wind in the shape of an X. Both jutsu met and the combined wild water wave overpowered her but Fu was nowhere to be found. Where the hell did she go? Fu, however, gave away her position quickly as they found themselves looking up at a rapidly dive-bombing Fu. You're going out in a bang. That's how Fu gets it done. She spun her body rapidly and released dust from the red container on her back, creating a giant violent tornado of dust particles. Hisame and Murasama were using all of their strength to resist getting swept up in the dust tornado, but it was too late as Fu had already reached the outside of the tornado with dual kunai in hand. Scale Blast. Fu created a spark from clashing the two kunai, which ignited the dust tornado and created a massive explosion, killing both of them along with leaving a large scorch mark in the ground that would act as a reminder of Fu's heroic actions. The villagers witnessed this but did not say anything. Fu was ready to run away until one of the kids yelled out. That was so cool. The villagers gathered around and talked excitable with her, and eventually she was picked up and tossed into the air chanting that she was a hero. Naruto, you were right. People do make your life mean something, and I will do whatever to keep them happy. Fu smiled along with the villagers who were hailing her as a hero. Center of village. Oh shit. Naruto looked up to see a 60-foot white wolf with a serious expression on his face. Suian could not look up but relayed his final request. Go destroy this village. He did not expect to be shaken off the giant wolf's head. How dare you summon me for this petty task? Kokiga was angered greatly by his now ex-summoner as Suian was killed by the large fall. Naruto was unnerved by the sight of the massive wolf but knew not to try anything. Kokiga looked down at Naruto, who was trying to not to look terrified at the sight of the immense beast, and spoke again. You, boy, were his last opponent, I assume. At Naruto's slight nod he continued. Sigh. Then I am sorry, but if one of the pack is slain in combat, then it is up to the pack to kill him. Defend yourself. Naruto's eyes widened at his statement and tried to move but couldn't bring himself to. Kokiga, seeing this, just wanted to end this quickly, so he stomped his giant paw, forcing Naruto and many of the small huts around him to be lifted into the air. He could not breathe as he looked into the fierce eyes of Kokiga, but that feeling passed as sudden dread filled his heart as he started to fall back down to the ground only to be grabbed in the powerful jaw of the royal fang. He was lucky, as he landed on an outside tooth instead of inside his jaw, but it pierced him in the right lower abdomen, opening a gaping hole in his stomach. Ah! Naruto forced himself off the massive tooth and fell to the water below, losing his consciousness as the injury was too great. He was, however, able to prevent death by softening his landing in the water below. As he sunk into the ocean and the image of the wolf summon faded, he could not help but feel his own death approach. I guess this is it. Visions of his abusers rushed by him in the darkening river water. An image of Minato with an Odama Rasengan appeared in front of him, and he could not help be reminded the first time he accepted death's embrace. But now it's different. Images of Fu crying, Arashi's beaming smile and thumbs up, and Satsuki's gentle sleeping face came into view. People depend on me. I can't die here. Naruto's blue eyes flashed open, but instead of the normal singular pupil it transformed into a swirling whirlpool design. The water around Naruto began to swirl violently and darken even further, but Naruto simply did not have any more chakra left in him, so his eyes quickly faded back to their original singular black pupils and the water turned back to normal. I am sorry, Satsuki-chan. Naruto had already passed out before a group of paws started to push him back up to the surface and into their den.